Hello students, my name is Niyati Saeed and thanks for watching Wikipedia word videos. My topic for the presentation is 7th section of the chapter Mineral Nutrition. In this section of the video, we will discuss about the mechanism of absorption of elements, students. Okay, movement of nutrients to roots. Okay, students, it is seen that much of the studies on the mechanism of absorption of elements by plants has been carried out in isolated cells, tissue, or organs. These studies revealed that process of absorption can be demarcated into two main phases. Okay. What are those phases? We'll study later. But we have to understand movement of nutrient to roots first. Roots, they do not intentionally grow towards a nutrient source, students. For nutrient uptake to occur, the individual nutrient ion must be in position or adjacent to the root. Positioning of the nutrient ion can occur by one or more of three processes. Which are those? First is root interception, and second is mass flow, and third is your diffusion. Okay, so what is root interception, students? The root can bump into the ion as it grows towards the soil. This mechanism is called as root interception. Okay. And what is mass flow, students? The soluble fraction of nutrients present in soil solution, that is water, and not held on soil fraction flow to the root as water is taken up. Okay, this process is called as mass flow. Now, which are the nutrients that are normally supplied by mass flow, students? Nitrate, calcium, and sulfur. They are normally supplied by mass flow, students. Okay. And third is diffusion, students. Nutrients such as phosphorus and potassium, they are absorbed strongly by soils and they are only present in a small quantities in the soil solution. I have already taught you that phosphorus and potassium are the two nutrients which are present in a small quantity in the soil solution. So they must be absorbed strongly by soil, right? So these nutrients, they move to the soil by diffusion, students. As uptake of these nutrients, they occur at the root, the concentration in soil solution is close proximity to the root decreases. That's why uptake of these nutrients occurs. Okay. This creates a gradient for nutrient to diffuse through a soil solution from a zone of high concentration to depleted solution adjacent to the root. That means from a high concentration to the lower concentration, it creates a gradient for a solution to diffuse through. Okay. Diffusion is responsible for the majority of phosphorus, potassium, and zinc moving to the root for uptake. Okay. Plant uptake nutrients. Plant uptake nutrients through the root by three fundamental ways, students. First is simple diffusion, and second is facilitated diffusion, and third is your active transport, students. Okay. I'll explain you these three processes in detail. Okay, so here just know that see, this is the plant, this is the root, this is the portion of the plant which is growing beneath the ground. Okay, basic cation uptake increases acidity. Please note that. And anion, that is negative ions, they uptake neutralizes acidity. So basic cation, that is positive ions uptake, it increases the acidity. Positive ions such as calcium, Ca2+, right? H+, these are your basic cations whose uptake increases acidity. Whereas anion such as nitrate, NO3- or HCO3-, these are your anions. So uptake of these ion neutralizes the acidity. Okay, acidification is less if more nitrogen relative to basic cation is removed in harvest. Okay, and most basic cation remains in crop residue and they are returned in the soil. That means such as potassium and calcium, they return back to the soil. Okay, most basic cations. These are the most basic cation that remain in the crop residue, and they are returned to the soil again for uptake of it. Okay, so plant uptake nutrients through the root by three fundamental ways. First is simple diffusion, second is facilitated diffusion, and third is active transport, students. Okay, now mechanism of absorption of elements. Now what is that? First, please understand that the inward movement of ions into the cell is called influx, and the outward movement is called as efflux. Okay, outward movement or exit movement is called as efflux. E for exit, E for efflux. Okay, and inward movement of ions is called as your influx. Okay, so this way you can memorize it. Okay, so please note that the process of the absorption includes two phases. What are those two phases? First, in the first phase, initial rapid uptake of ion into the free space or the outer space of cell takes place. That is your apoplast. Okay, apoplast is a free space. See, this is apoplast. This way nutrient uptake takes place. This is a plant cell. Okay, this is the cell wall of the plant cell, this is plasma membrane. Okay, and this movement, this green movement, is called as apoplast, and adjacent to the apoplast, this is Casparian strip, which I have already explained to you in detail in my previous sections of the presentation. You can refer to that for the better understanding. Okay, and this is symplast pathway. Okay, so what is first way? How absorption takes place in two phases. First, I told you in the first phase, initial rapid. Okay, initially rapid uptake takes place, but passive. That means it does not require any energy or ATP for the uptake of nutrients from soil into the root. Okay, so in apoplast is a free space, okay, or the outer space of the cell. See, this is the cell and this is the outer space of the cell. So apoplast is your free space or outer space of cell. It usually occurs through ion channels, students. Okay, it occurs through ion channels, that is transmembrane proteins that function as selective pores. So the passive movement of ion into the apoplast usually occurs through ion channels, which we call it as transmembrane proteins that function as selective pores. Now on the other hand, students, entry or exit of ions to and from symplast, this is your symplast, it requires the expenditure of metabolic energy, which is an active process. Okay, and the movement of ion is usually called as flux. The inward movement into the cell is called as influx, and the outward movement is called as efflux. So these are the two phases through which nutrient uptake takes place from the soil into the root. So first phase was your apoplast, which was initial rapid and passive uptake of ion into the apoplast. That means it does not require energy for the uptake of nutrients from the soil. Okay, and it usually occurs through ion channels, that is transmembrane protein. Okay, and now comes second phase, and that is your symplast. Ions are taken in slowly into the symplast, that is your inner space. See, this is the inner space, okay, or the cytoplasm of the cell, and it is an active process. That means it requires ATP for the uptake of these nutrients. Okay, now see the zoom view of these two pathways, that is apoplastic and symplastic. Students, please note that apoplastic pathway goes through cell wall. As you can see that this is the cell wall of the plant. So this green line or green pathway is going through the cell wall, and then comes your symplastic pathway goes through cytoplasm. See, this is the cytoplasm, okay, cytoplasm of a plant cell, this yellow portion. So symplast goes through cytoplasm and apoplast goes through cell wall, students. Okay, so this is a zoom view. These are the two cells or two plant cells. This is the cell wall of the plant, and this is the cell membrane of the plant. This yellow one is your cytoplasm, and this is the vacuole of a plant cell, students. Okay, so this yellow line, this is showing the apoplastic pathway, that is, it goes through the cell wall. See, this is the cell wall. Green one is your cell wall, and this yellow one is apoplastic pathway that goes through the cell wall, students. Okay, and this blue one is a symplastic pathway that goes through cytoplasm. See, this is the cytoplasm. This yellow one is your cytoplasm. Okay, so these are the two pathways through which absorption takes place in two phases. Translocation of solutes, students. We have seen that mineral salts are translocated through xylem, more specifically xylem vessel, along with the ascending stream of water, which is pulled up to through the plant by transpirational pull. Okay, it is seen that analysis of xylem sap shows the presence of mineral salts in it. Okay, so this is your xylem vessel. This is one way only, that means it goes from root to the upper part of the body, and these dots are representing water and minerals. No end walls between the cell. Okay, and these are the thick wall which is stiffened with lignin. This yellow one is showing the lignin deposition. Okay, so mineral salts, they are translocated through xylem along with the ascending stream of water. Now, what's the proof for the transport of mineral salts through xylem? Analysis of xylem sap, it shows the presence of mineral salts in it. That means your xylem, which is a conductive tissue, it transports water as well as mineral from root to the upper part of the body. Another proof for the transport of mineral salts through xylem is use of radioisotopes of mineral elements. Now we will discuss about the simple diffusion. As I have told you that there are the three fundamental ways through which nutrient uptake takes place. First is your simple diffusion, that is your osmosis, and second is your facilitated diffusion, and third is your active diffusion, students. So first we will study about the simple diffusion. Simple diffusion, you can say that it is osmosis. Okay, so it is a purely physical process. Osmosis is the flow of water down its concentration gradient across a semi-permeable membrane. See, this is semi-permeable membrane. Okay, that's why it is perforated. So that means it selectively allows few things to pass through it. That's why its name is selectively permeable membrane. So osmosis is a flow of water. As you can see, flow of water. These blue colored dots are your water, and this green ones are your sugar, and this is selectively permeable. This is high water concentration, this part, and this is low water concentration, and this is low sugar concentration, and this is high sugar concentration solution. So how does it take place? As I told you that osmosis is a flow of water down its concentration gradient across selectively permeable membrane. Osmosis is an example of diffusion, which is when molecules tend to distribute themselves evenly in the space. Okay, but wait, what is a semi-permeable membrane? It is a membrane that acts as barrier that allows some molecules or substances to cross but not others. Okay, it does not allow other molecules to pass through it. Can you see this sugar molecule, the green one? Can it pass through from this region to this region? No, but it can pass water through it. See, water is going from this region to this region. Okay, an everyday example is the plastic wrap in your kitchen. It allows air and water vapor to travel across it, but not water or food. The membrane of cells are semi-permeable too. They allow water and certain solutes, small molecules that are dissolved in a solvent such as water, to cross, but other solutes cannot cross it. Okay? And what does it mean for water to flow down its concentration gradient, students? It means that it flows from where it is higher concentration, see this is higher water concentration, to the lower water concentration, in order to try to equalize the concentration. Okay? So the direction across concentration gradient are named like the current of rivers. The direction that molecule or river tend to flow is called as downstream. See, this is downstream, okay, flow. And the direction that takes work is called as upstream. So I hope osmosis is clear to you now, that it is purely physical process. Transport is merely passive in that direct input of metabolic energy is not required, because it goes down the concentration gradient, and the energy required comes from the electrochemical gradient. From where energy comes for the diffusion, it comes from the electrochemical gradient of the solute that is being transported. See, this is sugar is your solute, you can say. So its electrochemical gradient provides energy for the simple diffusion. Simple diffusion occurs when a non-polar molecule such as oxygen, carbon dioxide and ammonia follows a concentration gradient that moves passively through the cell lipid bilayer membrane without the use of transport protein. Can you see the transport protein which is facilitating the diffusion process? No. So it does not require the use of transport protein, and simple diffusion occurs down the concentration gradient. Okay, now comes your facilitated diffusion, students. What is that? Facilitated diffusion, you can say that requires transport protein or carrier proteins or channel proteins for the facilitated diffusion. Okay, so it is a rapid movement of solute or ions following a concentration gradient facilitated by transport proteins. Okay, that means these are the proteins, these are the transport protein that allows or that facilitate the diffusion. So it is a rapid movement of solute or ion following a concentration gradient facilitated by transport proteins, students. Okay, and the natural membrane, it contains a large number of protein which functions as transport protein, which facilitate rapid diffusion of solute into the soil. Okay, this way it takes or it facilitates rapid diffusion of solute into the soil. There are two types of transport proteins. See, these are the transport proteins, okay, the purple one. There are two types of transport protein. First is carrier protein and second is your channel protein. Carrier, it bind to the particular solute. See, this is solute. Okay, so carrier protein, it bind to the particular solute to be transported, and it undergo a conformational change which delivers the solute to the other side of the membrane, and then it this protein then reverts to its original conformation soon after the solute is transported to the other surface and gets back to pick up another solute. Okay, so this is your carrier protein because it is taking solute and it is binding the solute to itself, and it is undergoing a conformational change, and then it delivers the solute to the other part of the membrane. See, this is the other part of the membrane, and solute has been transferred here, and then this protein, it reverts back to the normal shape or original conformation after the solute is transported to the other surface, and it gets back to pick up another solute. The main function of the carrier protein lies in their selectivity of the solute. That means solute and carrier protein, they are very selective for each other. And so carrier protein is very selective in nature, which are permitted to enter or exit. Okay, now we will understand what is channel protein. I have already taught you carrier protein. Second is your channel protein, because facilitated diffusion takes place by two proteins. First is your carrier protein and second is your channel protein, students. Okay, so channel protein form mostly water filled channels, okay, extending across a cell membrane. Channels, they are commonly recognized by ion species that is able to pass through the channel depending on the size of the hydrated ion and its charge. Okay, so channel protein, they are mostly water filled channels that extend across a cell membrane, and channels, they are commonly recognized by ion species. Okay, see, this is the extracellular fluid and this red are your solute, and this is your uh, protein that is allowing these solute molecule to pass through and goes to this inside of the cell. Okay, so channel proteins, they are gated. It could be open, it could be closed. Okay, solute may diffuse through only when channel gate is open. See, this gate is open now, that's why it is allowing solute to pass through it. So there are the two types of gates: electrically gated channel, which opens in response to particular magnitude of membrane potential, and other channel which open only in the presence of ion to be transported. Okay, so channels, they are involved where charge solutes are required to be transported rapidly across the membrane. So this was about two proteins, that is carrier and channel protein of the facilitated diffusion. That means diffusion which is facilitated by proteins, that is carrier protein or channel protein. I hope it is clear to all of you now. Now we will move ahead towards active transport. Active transport, students, it is the uptake by cell of ion or molecules against a concentration gradient. That means it requires an energy source, usually ATP, to power molecular pump that move the ions or molecule through the membrane. Okay, and active transport do not take place spontaneously. Okay, it does not take place spontaneously. It requires an input of energy to perform the function. Okay, so this is your lipid bilayer of plasma membrane, and this is the transport protein, this is your channel protein, and this is the solute which is going from here to the other part of the body, and this is your carrier protein which requires energy input in case of active transport. Okay, so let's see here. This is the extracellular fluid and this is the inside of the cell, and this is the protein. So 3 Na plus ion, it binds to the, and ATP is hydrolyzed, it transfers the phosphate group and conformational changes takes place, and this is potassium which gets bind here and it moves to the inside of the cell, and then 3 Na is bind and it moves here, and 2K binds and it goes here. So this process goes on and on and on. That means 3 Na exchanged with 2K. Okay, that is 3 sodium ions are exchanged from inside of the cell to the extracellular fluid, and 2K plus, that is 2 potassium ion, it goes from extracellular fluid to inside of the cell. So I hope it is clear to all of you now that how conformational changes takes place in the pump. This is the pump, you can say, or this is a protein that allows ions to get exchanged from extracellular fluid to the inside of the cell, students. Okay, and this way as you have seen that K plus it provides energy for the ready uptake for the another cycle. Okay, so this way 3 Na plus molecules are exchanged with 2 K plus molecules or K plus ions. Okay, so this was about the active transport. So this was all about the translocation of solute. that happens in plant and the mechanism of absorption of element. Now in my next section of the presentation we will discuss about the factors affecting the rate of absorption, okay, and soil as a reservoir of essential elements. So till then, stay tuned and keep watching Itopedia Word.
Drop a like and do share. Leave your comments and do not forget to subscribe for more videos.